Hello, this is Christy Marie with Status Assist, bringing you another video to help you regain your sovereignty one step at a time. Today, you'll see we're on the home page again of the TASA website. You can see at the top, TASAAmericanStateNationals.org, and you'll see that we're on the home page because that's underlined. We're going to go to correct your status. On this tab, you can also go to chart your course, which gives you the full paperwork of the 928s. Here, you'll see that we have the one-page declaration. Get started on your way to become an American State National or an American State Citizen. We have a new streamlined process. A little bit of history on this is that a few years ago, if you wanted to correct your status, even 2 years ago, you would actually have to prepare the documents yourself. You can look into the history of that by going to Anna's articles. And Article 928 is where she described all of that. And later she was able to find a way that we could do a shorter process. And so that was based on something called the 1779 Naturalization Act. And what she did was essentially take all of the different documents that go into the 928s and capture each full document into a small paragraph and put it into one-page declaration. And that's what we're going to be talking about. You can see that she talks here about how part of the problem back in 1779 when this act came about was that they were having a hard time telling the Americans from the Brits, from the Dutch, from the Swedes, some way to identify them. So, back in the day, they wouldn't have necessarily done a lot of paperwork because the de facto has advanced their control, and the more they control, the more paperwork there is. In fact, the idea of the paperwork process is not that we should be, as living men and women, preparing paperwork, but just because the maxim of law that says as a thing is bound, so it is unbound. They bound us through the paperwork process and multiple different types of adhesion contracts, and they just continued to do that. So we need to go back and unbind it. And the first step in doing that can be as simple as doing this streamlined process. I'm going to go down here so we can talk about the actual choices available to you. When I've worked with people, sometimes they don't know if they have to download every single document here. Notice that you can do different 1779 declarations depending on your situation. I'm going to cover for Americans, but people have told me that they downloaded every single one of these documents, which is not what we need to do. I'm going to show you the common carry one. The name of the document is nice and short, so it means these three all just fit on one line. It makes it easy for me to explain the difference between a recording secretary, an assembly notary, and a state of state recorder, or sometimes it's referred to as a state of state notary, like you'll see over here. But we'll just go ahead and talk about it right here. The recording secretary is a land recording secretary, and the assembly notary is also on the land because it's part of the assembly. What you need to know is that right now we don't have a great need for assembly notaries. We're going to need those more as our states are reconstructed, and I live on the border between right very close to Idaho, and I'm in Washington. And so there will be a day when like say there's a town 5 miles on this side of Washington, 5 miles across the border on the other side of Idaho, and those two towns may need to get together, and we would need an assembly notary between the two states. We don't really need this position. I don't even know how many assembly notaries we may have currently, but we do have recording secretaries. One of the main differences and why that we need recording secretaries right now is that the assembly notary cannot do the 1779 declaration. It's not within their scope of what they can do. So we really, really, really need recording secretaries right now because we have lots of people coming on the land. We have lots of people that need to get their one-page declaration done and get their themselves back home to the land and soil. So we have recording secretaries. One of the challenges is, as we're reconstructing the states, is that not every state has ample recording secretaries. Some states are more populated than other states with Americans, and some states are getting started with populating their numbers of Americans on their land and soil. So we really need recording secretaries. We don't have that many in certain areas. So if your local area doesn't have a recording secretary, you may want to consider if it might be easiest in your situation to simply go to a state of state notary. The recording secretary is someone you can get in contact with through your state coordinator. And I do recommend anyone who's doing their paperwork, you need to be connected with your state coordinator so that your state coordinator can be helping you guide that process, if you need to get in touch with your state coordinator, you just come right up here to the state coordinators and you can get in touch with them. But you need to be in touch with them as you do your paperwork process because each state is slightly different and you want to be in touch with one of your recording secretaries. And then you also want to, if you need to go to a state, what that is going to be is that a credit union or a bank, maybe at UPS, it could be that you have a friend that's a notary, or you know someone at a title company. I have a friend that works at a real estate investor office, and she's a notary. There's sometimes mobile notary services. There's different fees. What is generally just very convenient and easy to work with is most banks and credit unions have notaries on staff, someone that can witness your signing of any paperwork. So you have the option to find a local credit union or bank that works for you, or reach out to the recording secretary. For this process, it's often easiest to go ahead and find a local state-of-state notary at a credit union or bank that you have an account at, and it's free that way, generally. So look into that. And that is going to be important in you knowing which documents to download. I want to explain a little bit about what this information right here is that Anna has provided. There's article 1179 called Public Notary or Notary Public. We can click on this link, which will take us to an article by Anna that is titled Public Notary or Notary Public. Notice that in this term, public notary, it actually sounds like normal English, and it's that there's a noun notary and there's an adjective that's modifying the noun. So it's public. It's public as an adjective. In the Notary Public, it's switched back around. So it's actually where there's the noun here and the adjective here. And that's not really how we speak in English. And so because we don't speak that way in English, it sounds odd. And so the public notary or notary public, it's just something interesting to note. And it's interesting to note that this notary public that sounds so awkward and weird because it's not how we speak English, that's kind of a clue that they're doing a look-alike, sound-alike, I think. And I think that it's noteworthy to perk your ears up whenever you hear a look-alike, sound-alike, because that's often how you'll find they're doing their semantic deceit. So here Anna tells us that a public notary is in the land jurisdiction. The notary public is in the international jurisdiction of the sea. So that, again, is the the Secretary of State that's with your state of state is generally going to commission those in public. And again, it's the state of state. It's under the guidance of that office. Sometimes the state of state, the Secretary of State is, it's not consistent on every state. I understand that sometimes it's the lieutenant governor that might be in that position. So, but it's important to note that that at the bottom of each of the pieces of paperwork that you might complete as part of the 928 process, the one-page document process, there's something at the bottom called the notary block, and we'll go over that in a moment. And in that notary block is designed for whoever you're going to sit down with and witness with. So if someone comes to me as a recording secretary and they provide me with the wrong notary block, I won't sign it, or I might have to like handwrite in there or something. But the notary block is very important, and the notary is not going to be willing to notarize and witness your signature if the bottom block is not correct. And then on the land jurisdiction, our notary block is going to say something like Vermont State or Claiborne County, whereas in the state of state organization, it's going to say State of Vermont or County of Claiborne. And then if it's the municipal is always all caps, so it would be all caps State of Vermont or all caps County of Claiborne. Over time, you'll get used to the fact that there are the three constitutions. And so the one constitution that was with the British in 1789 is called the British Territorial United States, and that's the constitution for them. And then the municipal papal is the constitution in 1790. And it's you always know when we're dealing with that corporation because it's in all caps. So that's just a little bit about Anna's guidance. There's more information in this article. I encourage you to read it. I encourage you to continue studying about public notaries and that information. However, to just get started, I think that will help you just it will help you know which document that you want to download and modify so that it matches your information. I'm going to click here on this one. Again, I'm doing the recording secretary. It pops up here in my download. Unfamiliar in how to open up a download on your computer, you might need to find a YouTube video to help you with that. But assuming that you know how to do that, I'm going to go ahead and show you. I'm working in Word. You might be working in a different format, a different program, but I'm going to go ahead and click right here on Enable Editing. If I tried to go ahead and change this information, it wouldn't allow me to. But once I click Enable Editing, then I can go ahead and change it. So I'm going to show you that in the red font, I'm just going to go ahead and change it to my information. And I live in Washington. I'm on Spokane County, and I'm in Washington. And I am, again, this is the state, Washington, because I'm not in Nevada. I'm just making it mine, right? And then I'm going to put my name in here in my proper case. Proper case is when we have uppercase and lowercase. So I'm putting it in my proper case. This is also going to be autographed using the print name that you have. It's going to be your land name, and it's going to be like as if you printed it in first grade or something. I'm putting Spokane County here because if I was going to do this, I might do it on Spokane. However, when I show you my example, you'll see that I needed to go to a different county. So on my sample, and I'll show you in a minute, the one that I did, it's actually got a different county on it. So you can see how I changed all that. Then what I do is I simply come in here and I change all of this to black font. I like to leave the seal now that I have it in all black. I'm going to show you a couple of samples, and you'll notice here that I've changed everything to black. I'm just kind of showing you a sample. This portion right here is going to be something that you leave blank until you sit down and fill it in when you're in front of the recording secretary. If you were going to go to a state-of-state notary, you would do it in front of the person that's witnessing. And so then they're going to go ahead and fill out this portion. You'll notice here, this notarial block is this part at the bottom, and it says recording secretary and international notarial witness. I'm going to show you one more sample. And here is my original declaration of the Naturalization Act of 1779. When I did it, the form that was available online allowed you to just print this information in with a blue pen, blue ink, so I did. And you'll see that I filled this in front of the recording secretary. Again, recording secretary, international notarial witness. I did this with a recording secretary. You'll see that my autograph is in print, that the thumbprint actually touches my name. That's important, and it covers the copyright. You'll see that I did it in Washington, but that I had to drive to King County. The only place that I could go for recording secretary was 4 hours away, and I wanted the help and assistance. So I drove to King County. We have a state meeting once a month over there. So I went to that. I hope this is helpful to you. I hope it's answered a lot of your questions, and I hope that it makes your process of regaining your sovereignty one step at a time that much easier. Remember to look below for helpful links and